Setting up a prop is pretty straightforward. You just import your geometry. That's what we'll start with. And make sure your scale matches the scale it was built at. And then there we go. We have our prop sitting on the floor there where I'd modeled it. Now, this is going to be a handheld prop, so this is especially important, but something to keep in mind is how other things are going to interact with it. And right now you can see my center point is right here in the middle of the blade. And if we go to the joint editor tool, you can see the center and end points right there. Now our default, if you go to tool settings, you can see our rotation order is Y, X, Z. That's our default, which is vertical. Basically, twist, side bend. Your Y would be your twist. That is our default setup. So with a sword, maybe that's not the easiest way to go, because yes, I can move my center point and end point to a logical place on the handle, but there's an easier way, which is to import this sword in a vertical position. And you can see here that my center point and end point are set up nicely. It's the default YXZ. That's the YXZ is fine. And then I just need to move my center point up to where I want the sword to rotate around. Somewhere around where your hand is going to be. And we can test that by rotating on that. And so that is pretty straightforward and easy. And now my sword is ready to go. And before we actually save the file, we should do one more thing, and that is, if you go to the tool settings pane, you can see that the Y position of my center point is bright white. That means that you haven't memorized the value yet. And so what you want to do after you've adjusted center and end points is you want to memorize the figure rigging or the rigging on the prop. So that's what I'm going to do right here, is right click in the viewport, memorize selected nodes rigging. And then now that becomes grayed out and darkened, and now you know that rigging is all memorized and it will work correctly. And then you just need to save your file. Now I've created a project directory called Project A, and I'm going to save it in there. So I just go to File, Save As, Support Asset, Figure/Prop Asset. And I'm going to want to put it in the correct folder structure, and so it would be under Props. And I'm not 100% sure actually, but I think it's Weapons. And then my project folder is what goes in here. And so I'm going to say Really Cool Sword is my project. And then I'm going to save my .def file in here. In this case, I'm giving it the same name as the project. Don't necessarily always do that. And then it's going to pop up this dialog, and the asset directory should be this Project A folder that I chose. It is. And vendor name, and then you go for your product name. I'm going to fill that in, and then for my item name, it could be the same, or you can even shorten it if you want. This item name is so that if you have other objects, other things in your product, then you would just name them separately. So maybe you have a shield or other things like that. Your item name would be those: sword, shield, bucklers, whatever. And then we can set the content type to prop. It's not super critical for the prop, but we'll just do it. And then hit accept. And now you can go in here to Project A, Props, Weapons, Really Cool Sword, and there's your sword. And it loads in, and the center point's all in the right spot. Everything's happy.